the only acceptable method of submission is via the legislature's website at nebraskalegislature.gov. Written position letters will be included in the official hearing record, but only those testifying in person before the committee will be included on the committee statement. I will now have the committee members with us today introduce themselves, starting on my left.
Good afternoon, Jana Hughes, District 24, and that is Seward, York, Polk, and a little bit of Butler County.
On my right.
Senator Tom Brandt, District 32, Fillmore, Thayer, Jefferson, Salina, and southwestern Lancaster counties.
Senator John Kavanaugh, District 9, Midtown Omaha.
Mike Moser, District 22, Platte County and most of Stanton County.
Sir Mosier also serves as vice chair of the committee. Also assisting the committee today, to my left, is our legal counsel, Cindy Lamb, and to my far right is our committee clerk, Lori Vollerson. Our page for the committee today is Ruby Kinsey. Thank you for being here today. Excuse me. With that, we'll begin today's hearings with a gubernatorial appointment of John Hoggatt for the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. John, please come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is John Hoggatt, 10,210 14th Avenue, Kearney, Nebraska. I represent District 4 Game and Parks.
Spell your name, please.
John. Last name is Hoggatt, Hoggatt.
Go ahead. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. Okay. Tell about why you want to be on. This is a reappointment, right?
It's a reappointment.
What have you done on the committee? A little bit about your interest and why we should.
Yeah, so I'll kind of start.
Yep.
As kind of some fresh faces here. My family is from the Adams County area, from my perspective, but I'm a Phillips County Holdridge Duster at heart. Spent most of my career in banking, 40 some years in banking. The senator that's not in attendance hired me in 1994 in a position. I was going to give him a hard time, but Mike's not here. Senator Jacobs is not in attendance, so I'll have to give him a hard time later. I've been an active lender for agriculture as well as commercial business for 40 some years. So interested in business as well as agriculture and as well as recreational hunting, fishing, and all that growing up as well. So have a passion for the outdoors. This appointment came along with Governor Ricketts, and was appointed by Governor Ricketts and confirmed. Served 4 years. Served one extra year last year because those appointments were delayed. So I'm in my I've already served 1 year of the second term. I've enjoyed it greatly. I've learned a lot about the game and parks. Learned a lot about government, more than I realized what goes on and how things work. It's fascinating. A couple quotes that I'd like to share with you that I've picked up on and heard from some of the staff is, number one, wildlife management is like riding a bicycle on a barbed wire fence. And I think about that often. The other one that I think is a takeaway that one of the biggest aha moments is that the amount of fish that the Game and Parks raises a year, roughly 70 million fish a year. And those people who like to fish for walleye, 95% of the walleye that we catch in the state of Nebraska comes from our fisheries. And I had no idea when I first walked into this position that was that important. And so without that, there'd be a lot of disappointed anglers, especially in the walleye area. So the fisheries are important. Wildlife management is important for a lot of different reasons, good, bad, and indifferent. Social tolerance is important. Damage control is important.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions for committee members? Sir Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for being here and thanks for your willingness to serve. I'll resist the temptation to ask for embarrassing stories about Senator Jacobson, but I reserve the right to ask later. I just wanted to ask about the walleye. So is walleye not native to Nebraska or what's?
They are native, but the reproduction is limited. I'm not an expert. I'm just going to repeat what I've been told from the biologist, but the natural reproduction is limited. And some of our waterways that, and Tim can help me, bail me out here a little bit, are waterways that have natural spawning because the temperature goes, or the water goes up and down. It limits their ability to naturally reproduce. So our fishery guys go in and grab the walleye during spawn and milk them, take the eggs and then hatch them and then take them back out.
This is like, I know there's a hatchery at Schramm Park or something like that. I don't need to put you on the spot. This is just, you piqued my interest and this is a dangerous committee for that.
It's a fascinating, and there's a lot. I got the year by year spreadsheet from the head of fisheries. I just drew a blank. Dean, Dean Rosenthal, and I did a spreadsheet up of the last 5 years, how all the different bodies, close to 370 different bodies of water, and about at least 30 some different species. But the big ones are walleye, muskie, a lot of them. It's fascinating work.
Thank you.
Sarah Mosier.
So who has more silly rules, the banking industry or game and parks?
That's a great question.
Not silly, but rules that are not evident for why they're there.
I could sit here and talk about both of those quite a long time.
But you're comfortable talking about fish.
Well, and both I think both industries would have some silly rules. Government, I would say this, Senator Moser, what I've been surprised by going to the game parks is the amount of statutory limitations that we've had and that amount of control that the legislature does have on some things that I was surprised. I thought was some mundane things that they control. That like, why would they control that? Well, they just have, for example, one that I think quite silly. We set prices for a lot of different things by regs, but there's a state statute that limits our ability to raise for non-resident deer hunting. That's state statute. So we have to get a bill passed, so statistically we're pretty fair on our non-resident hunters for whitetail tags, but our mule deer tags are statistically cheaper. And we should raise those up a little higher to get reimbursed equitable for other states. But we can't without going back to legislature and passing a bill. It should be done by regs, in my opinion. That's a silly one.
Yeah, there'd be some in the legislature think that we need more control over what game and parks do.
And another thing I'll tell you, 88% of our budget is self-generated. So 12% comes to the taxpayers. I was surprised by that.
One of the senators showed me a herd of elk tromping through somebody's pasture.
Yep.
That's always a source of it. Well, anyway, it sounds like you can handle yourself.
Yeah.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Chair Bosselman. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for volunteering. I think everybody needs to serve on some type of governmental board and they would have a much better feel for how things really work. So my question to you is, because you're with your background in finance and banking, I'm sure you're aware of this, but the bill LB 1413 that Speaker Arch has brought on behalf of the governor would take money from the state game fund and the state park fund and transfer it to the general. I get a lot of calls from constituents that are hunters, campers who oppose this. They think, why are you doing that? Put that money back into the game and parks for infrastructure, et cetera. What are your thoughts and comments on that?
Well, my understanding is that when that bill was published, our director talked to the chief of staff.
Okay.
And they understood the impact and have reallocated that,
Okay.
removed that.
And you believe that's the right thing too. So, okay.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for serving.
So that went out and it hit the media and it got legs of its own.
Okay. Thank you.
Senator Brett.
Thank you, Chairman Bosselman. Thank you for appearing today. What are some of your interests in regards to game and parks? I mean, do you consider yourself a subject matter expert on, or,
I'm probably more wildlife than fishery or parks, probably. I've spent more time on the wildlife side.
okay?
Yeah.
And so the potential future of game and parks, you know, today you buy a park permit and go camp or a hunting license, go do this. What do you see 10 years down the road? Is this going to look different than today?
I think it will evolve.
Any ideas?
I'm worried about a few things.
What are you worried about?
I'm accessibility. The number one reason people, I think the number is less than 10% of Nebraskans hunt. That used to be a lot higher. And the number one reason people do not participate in hunting like they used to is because of access. And access with a state that's roughly 97% privately held is hard.
So is there a way to incent private landowners like myself to grant access in spite of some of the bad experiences we've had?
Yeah, open fields and water is one avenue. We're gaining momentum with that. And we have a program that's working and with limited liability as well. I think the legislature's done a good job with that. It's gaining ground. But I think what's happened like in other states, a lot of the outside interest of outfitters have leased up ground. And so I worry to have the people with limited ability to afford access get pushed out by the people who have the ability to afford to lease up ground.
Okay, just one more question. I've delayed long enough so that he could get here.
Okay.
Oh, wait, did you know this started at? Okay.
Now you got me. I've been looking for the room.
Just try. In southeast Nebraska, where I'm from, we don't have a lot of parks. You know, we don't have monuments or big lakes or anything like that. But what we do have is an undeveloped asset or a lot of small rivers. And one of my, I guess one thing I'd like to see us put more emphasis on is kayaking on the big blue, the little blue, the Nemaha. Some of these bigger streams, you can get a kayak down them. But we have a problem with ingress and egress points, and they're very expensive. And to try and find landowners that are willing to let people park the pickup there while they go downstream 4 or 5 miles and another egress point that they can travel back. Are there any programs in game and parks that would help communities develop these assets? And maybe you're not the guy to ask that. I'll wait for somebody else to come up.
That's you guys right there.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's your turn. We've all asked questions.
Senator Jacobson.
If I could back up, a little background for a second, and I was about 40 years in banking. In 1994, a really very brilliant individual hired me. First time the banker.
You must need a vote.
Senator
Yeah.
Jacobson.
I don't know. I didn't realize it was that tough of a hearing.
I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Senator Mike Jacobson, District 42, Lincoln, Logan, McPherson, Hooker, Thomas, and most of Perkins County. So
Hi, Mike.
good to see you. Good to have you here.
You have questions?
No, I know this guy way too well. So if I start asking too many questions, he'll start asking questions about me. So
We may need to talk afterwards. Any
Mutual
other,
assured destruction.
any other questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you for coming in and
Thank you.
willingness to serve. Anyone like to testify in support of the gubernatorial reappointment of John Hoggatt to the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission? Please step forward. Any in support? Seeing none, anyone like to testify in opposition? Seeing none, anyone like to testify in neutral capacity? Seeing none, that'll close our hearing on the gubernatorial appointment of John Hoggatt to the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Next, we'll have the hearing on LB 1001 by Senator Conrad.
couldn't have got there just a little bit quicker to get 1,000.
I got that.
Hey,
Good
hi.
afternoon and welcome.
I don't have a chance to visit natural resources all that often, so this is fun. Hi.
Welcome to the Fun Committee.
Yes, clearly. Hi, my name is Danielle Conrad. It's Danielle, Conrad, Conrad. I represent North Lincoln's 46th Legislative District in the legislature, and I'm pleased today to introduce LB 1001. 1001 creates a migratory waterfowl hunting season for veterans. This bill was brought to me by Dustin McKenna, who you're going to have a chance to get to hear from if you haven't had a chance to meet him already. He is a National Guardsman, and he is the chapter lead for the Nebraska Armed Forces Initiative and Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. So we had an interim study in the government committee over the interim that Senator Day put forward to try and figure out different ways that we could strengthen our state laws or policies to make Nebraska more friendly to veterans and to military families. And so we heard about a lot of different issues and ideas in that hearing. And then shortly thereafter, I received a connection from a good friend, another Brave Guards person, Cameron Sanix, who said, hey, we heard about the work that's going on in the legislature in regards to making improvements in Nebraska law for veterans and military families. I want to connect you up with Dustin so that you can learn more about this really cool veterans hunting program that he's trying to get off the ground and looking to get some legislative movement on. So we started that conversation among Senator Brewer and myself, and then Senator Brewer said that he was a little bit too full in his personal legislative agenda, and I still had some room. So he was gracious enough to sponsor this, and it's under my name originally. So I also had a chance to go out and meet with Dustin and some of the active military members and veterans who are participating in programs like this in the interim period. And it was super fun to get to connect with them, to say thank you for their service, to get to learn about their families, to get to learn about different challenges that they're facing in life, and to really glean the passion that they had for conservation and outdoors and hunting and fishing. And so in addition to having an incredible program where we talked about this legislation and had an awesome educational presentation from representatives of Game and Parks, they also served up some of the most delicious waterfowl dishes that you can imagine. And I'm still thinking about those teal poppers. And it was just a really special night of fellowship for me. And it really stayed on my heart and on my mind as we prepared for this legislative session. So fast forward, introduced the bill to try and bring this idea to fruition. About 34 of our sister states have some sort of similar program that's out there related to veteran waterfowl hunting seasons, and other sister states are presently working on it as well. Of our surrounding neighboring states, Kansas, Wyoming, and Colorado have already adopted a program or policy or law in regards to a similar measure like this. After LB 1001 was introduced, Senator Bosselman was kind enough and gracious enough to flag it for me and ask that we pull the stakeholders together and work on an amendment so that we could address some technical issues to make sure we're harmonizing with federal law so that we don't jeopardize any funding or things of that nature. And thanks to his thoughtfulness and graciousness and the hard work of committee council and a lot of other stakeholders, we are presenting you with a white copy amendment that will go around here today, and that should effectuate the policy goal while making sure we get it right from a technical perspective. So big thanks to Cindy, and big thanks to Game and Parks and Dustin and Ryan McIntosh, who is helping out on behalf of the Guard as well. So I'm going to stick around for the hearing, and I'll be here to close if you have any questions, but I want to make sure that this hearing really centers the superstars that are coming behind me.
Okay, thank you. Questions from committee members? So motion.
Have you looked at some of the other bills that have been introduced that do similar things?
I did see those upon bill introduction. I think there was at least 3 or 4, if not a few more out there from different senators. And I think they perhaps have different nuances as to what they're trying to accomplish. But the cool thing is, I think a lot of people were trying to figure out how to make improvements in our laws to get more military families and veterans into hunting and fishing. So I don't know if you have a favorite one, Senator Moser, but you don't have to answer that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Sarah Hughes?
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for bringing this. I think it's answered, but they don't have to require vehicle entry just for those 2 days. If they're hunting the other 105 days, then you would have to have a vehicle permit. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right, Senator Hughes, and there's some good explanation about that in the fiscal note as well, about kind of how
I just
that
looked, it
might
was 0.
work from a practical perspective. And I think the Game and Parks people were trying to figure out a way just logistically to make the access as easy as possible, but then also, of course, flag to Game and Parks employees that folks were there in a permissible way. Okay, I'll be.
Senator Jacobson,
Senator
sorry.
Jacobson, yeah.
Thank you, Chairman Bostelman. Senator Conrad,
Yes.
I guess I'm all in favor of anything we can do to really help our veterans and provide these opportunities. And I always kind of start thinking about the practical pieces
Yeah.
of game wardens and, okay, you open up the season 2 days ahead for veterans only. So all of a sudden you're hearing all the gunshots and suddenly the game and now the game wardens have to figure out, okay, do we go figure out whether these are truly veterans or whether they're just people who decided to jump the gun a couple of days. And I think about, okay, if they go and somebody goes with them who's not a veteran, and they got one gun, I see some logistical issues in terms of how this would work. And I guess I'm also looking at how they would prove up they're a veteran. Would that be through the license and that they're going to get through Game and Parks? And maybe there's others behind me that can answer that question, but that was the only other thought is how do you readily confirm that the people there are veterans? I like the idea.
Sure.
It's always the devil's in the details.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for flagging that. I will do my best. And I'm sure there's smarter people behind me who can give us the technical
May not be
aspects
smarter,
on it.
but they can give me.
Well, they're highly trained in this regard. But I think a couple of just general points. We have, for example, the youth hunting days that kind of would work in a similar way that this measure is proposed. So I think we probably don't have to guess about how enforcement works. I'm guessing it's primarily honor-based, and then of course there's enforcement on the other side if somebody were run afoul. And particularly with this groups, with our veterans and military, I think that we're going to have a lot of assurance that they're going to be on their honor to do the right thing there. And then of course, it will always take a little bit of education and some time to make sure that the law enforcement officers and the Game and Parks wardens that are out there just are kind of aware of the change practices with bringing on a new hunting season. But I think overall Game and Parks has been really receptive and awesome to work with and is eager to get more people out to enjoy the outdoors. So I don't think it will be a huge problem. I do think that the status of veterans per se is consistent with federal law as defined in the bill, just to make sure that there's no ambiguities that way. But good questions. And if
for
we
what
don't
it's
get
worth.
it right there, I'll figure it out before I come back up for close.
To be clear with my question, I'm not questioning the integrity.
No,
of veterans.
of course, but question mark.
I'm questioning the integrity of the people who aren't veterans who will try to
You got it.
take advantage of the program.
No, I appreciate that point. That's a great point, and I'm not, sure what we can do for folks who are going to go out under the auspices of service to try and get some, access to hunting. But I do know that we can remove barriers to help those that have served have these opportunities, and I know that it's a commitment that we all share to do all that we can to at least say thank you for that service.
I agree. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sarah Mosier.
So the gist of the bill is a couple days early start of the season, still have to buy their permits, all those things.
Yes, that's right, Senator.
Okay. Thank you.
Stay for closing?
Yes,
All right.
thank you.
Supporters for LB 1001, please step forward.
First week. Yeah, first day.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Senator Bosselman, members of the Natural Resources Committee. My name is Dustin McKenna, spelled D-U-S-T-I-N, MCKENNA, and I'm a lifelong Nebraska resident. I'm a husband, father of 2 kids, Army National Guardsman, and I volunteer as the chapter lead for the Armed Forces Initiative of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I'm here today to ask you to support LB 1001, which would establish a 2-day veteran active duty waterfowl season. This season will serve as an opportunity for current hunters to take veterans into the outdoors and help them gain a new knowledge while not taking away a normal duck hunting weekend from them. In December of 2023, I sponsored a 3-day veteran waterfowl hunt on behalf of the Armed Forces Initiative. As part of this hunt, I was able to take 6 veterans on a duck hunting and conservation weekend. The hunt served as an opportunity for veterans to connect with each other, as well as to reconnect with the outdoors. While the hunt was not as successful as we hoped, the ability for the veterans to reconnect was evident in this after-action review comment, where one veteran stated, "This event touched me deeply, akin to a spiritual level." The ability to get veterans into the outdoors on another weekend provides the opportunity for outdoor adjunct therapy to enhance their mental, spiritual, and emotional well-being. Veterans and service members of the state and country have given time and time again. The establishment of this season, while small, protects their right to veteran hunting waterfowl season for the future of Nebraska. I'm going to end with 2 quotes to consider as you move forward to place votes. The first is from General Douglas MacArthur. "The soldier above all others prays for peace, for it is the soldier who must suffer and bear the deepest wounds and scars of war." And the second is from a visionary conservationist, Aldo Leopold, who said, "When we heal the earth, we heal ourselves." I urge your support of LB 1001 and will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions from committee members? Could you explain to me a little bit on your 3-day veteran waterfowl? What's that?
Yes, sir. So
A little bit more about that.
So the 3-day veteran waterfowl hunt took place out at Pawnee Lake on public land just west of Lincoln. The event, we had 6 veterans and there was 6 volunteers that helped support the event. Nebraska Game and Parks was a huge supporter, came out and waterfowl biologist taught a class on waterfowl biology and habitat. We taught the veterans how to use a duck call, how you set up to hunt ducks. We also taught the veterans about public land access and management in Nebraska and the nation as a whole. And then we took them on 2 different hunts, one off of a boat and one up at Camp Ashland training area off the shore, to just give them 2 different opportunities to learn and gain a new knowledge set. And as Senator Conrad mentioned, each evening we had a pretty outstanding meal that was wild game to teach them how they can take this skill set, not just from the store where you buy your guns and ammo, to a hunt, to then enjoying the meal with your family.
So does this have anything in conjunction with the R3 program? You know?
No, sir.
Okay.
Not in official capacity.
Okay. It's an interesting program. I don't know if I've heard much about it. It's something that must be fairly new with the last 20-some years since I've been gone. But
It is a relatively new program. Backcountry Hunters and Angler did a study a few years ago, Senator, that to look at their members. As we know, hunting and fishing, the number of people that hunt and fish has decreased steadily. They identified that military and veterans was a large number of their organization. So they put this Armed Forces Initiative together. It started out as a national, then regional, and it's grown to each state having one or more leads to put on events to get the veterans outdoors.
interesting. Okay. Thank you. Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for coming in, Dustin. So you're the chair or chapter lead for this. Just how did you get into hunting? I'm guessing maybe, did you grow up doing it?
I did. So I grew up fishing. My family's from Minnesota, North Dakota. I didn't go on my first hunt till I was 19 years old, and someone that my dad worked with took me out. I've then had some really good friends and mentors. One, Ryan McIntosh, that'll follow me, taking me out deer hunting and pheasant hunting on numerous occasions. And I just, honestly, I got lucky, and I had people around me that supported me and taught me how to do things. And that's why I got involved. Was I want to turn around and give that back to the veteran community. I find peace in the outdoors, and I know that it's something that will benefit others.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Sir Jacobson.
Well, I just have one other comment for you. I thought where this would be duck and goose hunting. I think if this does become law and it's 2 days before, I'm sure there's several of us around the state that have some pretty good duck blinds and goose blinds that on a private land that would be something that we'd probably be interested in trying to get groups together, and they could give them an extra little bit of an experience in goose and duck hunting. So hopefully if this gets to the finish line, we'll maybe talk further about that.
That sounds fantastic, Senator.
So no other questions? Thank you for your testimony.
Sure.
Next supporter for LV 1001.
Sorry, getting that revenue here quick. Good afternoon, Chairperson Boston, members of the committee. My name is Ryan McIntosh, MCINTOSH, and I appear before you today as a registered lobbyist for the National Guard Association of Nebraska. You've heard me testify before in this committee about connecting veterans in the outdoors and how outdoor activities have allowed veterans connect and adjust to a civilian life. LB 1001 is a little bit different than all the other bills you've heard this year. For one, it doesn't cost anything. It aligns with federal law. I think it'll be very easily implemented. If you bought a permit from the Game and Parks in the last year, they've done an awesome job updating their system. I did, just for inputting your, for landowner tags, you just have to input your land once and then it's in there. So the verification isn't an annual thing. You just have to verify your veteran status once. I will say that the Nebraska Department of Veteran Affairs does a phenomenal job of maintaining a veteran registry for both National Guard and then broken down by various service branches. And in discussions with the Game and Parks, I don't purport to testify with how they'll do this, but it's my understanding that they'll work with the Department of Veteran Affairs to verify the positions. This is something that's done in a lot of other states. It's something that's permissible with law. I don't think there's going to be confusion on the shooting, Senator Jacobson, because it will be held in conjunction with the youth waterfowl season on the exact same dates. As a matter of fact, Game and Parks is already promulgating regulations to put this into place. But what we're asking to put in the statute is to ensure that it remains in place. Just a few things about the bill. LB 1001 aligns with current federal law and utilizes the definition for member of the armed forces, which is found in 38 U.S.C. section 101. And although it does not include traditional M-Day soldiers like myself with the National Guard, it does include our active duty force within the National Guard, which is about 10 to 15% of our organization, so they will benefit for this. We thank Senator Conrad for bringing the bill, and the Nebraska Game and Parks for working with us on a white copy amendment to streamline it and make it something that everyone can agree to. So as I said, I really do think this is different than the other bills. And something that I would very much urge the committee to pass, and as they're already in the process of implementing it, should be seamless. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Bostelman. Mr. McIntosh, I guess the other question I'd ask is that I'm just thinking through my previous question, but probably more specific to, I would think in some cases, particularly if we were to go to private lands where we've got decoys that could bring dogs. But in many cases, that's going to mean having a guide or a chaperone or somebody there who can kind of show them the way around. And so now the question kind of almost flips back the other way. Are we need to have any provisions where someone could be there acting as a guide, so to speak, who doesn't have a gun, isn't counting the ducks in the limit? I mean, I would see there could be that potential need. How would you think we could address that?
I really look at this the same way as the youth season. And I go out I don't personally duck hunt. I did wear my duck tie today in celebration of LB 1001. But I've taken my kids out on youth season. I don't take a gun. So I think this really operates in a very similar manner. And as you heard from Mr. McKenna's testimony, there's a lot of initiatives right now where it's veterans taking other veterans into the outdoors. If you don't have a guide, you're not going to have a fun time. And if you've never been before, and you're not going to get anything. But I really don't see this as any different than what we do with our youth seasons right now, where you have a mentor taking out a youth with a permit and a firearm.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Other questions, committee members? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other supporters for LB 1001, please step forward. And we'll ask Senator Salama if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Senator Slama, District 1, representing Otoe, Nemaha, Johnson, Pawnee, and Richardson counties in southeast Nebraska.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Bosselman and members of the committee. My name is Evan Egger, Evaneggr. I'm a sixth generation Nebraskan and grew up in Lancaster County on a farm in District 32. Like to speak briefly as one of the 6 veterans that Mr. McKenna took out hunting about my journey from Nebraska to Afghanistan and back home, because I think this bill is very illustrative of what can attract and retain veterans to Nebraska. I grew up upland game hunting around our farm property and family, friends, relatives. Kind of fell out of hunting when I got to college, did ROTC with Dustin and Mr. McKenna, and I ended up commissioning into active duty, left the Nebraska Army National Guard, which I served in during college. Spent 6 years with the active army in Georgia, Texas, and Arizona, deployed twice to Afghanistan. And everything in my life changed as a result of combat in Afghanistan. My perspective on myself, on humanity in general, the limits, the capabilities of humanity, and it made it pretty challenging. I left the Army at age 28, not expecting to make it to 30 after some of my experiences in Afghanistan. Raising 3 boys, it's been a good challenge to reconnect me to my humanity and remind me of what's important in life. I find myself now in a corporate environment, working indoors, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And so opportunities to get outdoors are very grounding for me. The waterfowl weekend with the Armed Forces Initiative taught me a lot. And now I will just say I'm hooked to waterfowl hunting. The amount of strategy that goes into it, the site selection, the land access, the maintenance of arms, the camaraderie of following a guide, the art and science of decoy placement and calling, they all required me to focus in the moment and get my mind off of some of the horrible things I had experienced. It was a challenge even to handle firearms. Growing up with firearms, hunting after combat, it became much more difficult to emotionally prepare myself for that. It took several years before I felt fully equipped to, again, handle firearms responsibly and get in the outdoors. And I am so glad that this opportunity happened with the Armed Forces Initiative. It inspired me to teach my own 3 boys how to hunt. I look forward to taking them out in Nebraska's public and private lands as soon as they're able. I think my experience is my own. I can't speak on behalf of any other veterans, but I think there are plenty of folks who come back from combat changed, and getting into nature and focusing in the moment is very helpful for people like me. And so I hope that this bill may open up opportunities for others to come back to Nebraska. When I was leaving the military, I strongly considered Texas as my new home. It offers tremendous benefits to veterans, but my wife had a good opportunity here as a public school teacher. That brought us home, family, kept us here, and I think opportunities like this can continue to serve veterans very well into the future. And I appreciate any questions.
Super. Thank you for your testimony. Questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you for your service, as well as thank you, Dustin, for your service. Next supporter for LB 1001. Any others would like to testify in support of LB 1001? Anyone would like to testify in opposition to LB 1001? Seeing that, I would like to testify in the neutral capacity on LB 1001. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Senator Bostelman and members of the Natural Resource Committee. My name is Alicia Hardin, ALICIAHARDIN. I am the Wildlife Division Administrator for the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. The commission is neutral on this bill. The commission appreciates all that our veterans and active military have done and are doing to protect our country. And we would also like to see them have a couple of days to hunt waterfowl in our state. Through the federal frameworks that govern the migratory waterfowl season and our existing statutes, we are able to accommodate such a hunt. The commission staff will be making recommendations, as you heard, at our March commission meeting to set eligibility requirements, season dates, and bag limits. The 2-day season is being recommended to be set in conjunction with our youth season, which is held the weekend prior to the start of the regular duck season in each duck zone. We appreciate the opportunity to work with the senator and her staff on the amendments to better align the bill with the current federal frameworks and definitions. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions from committee? Senator Jacobson?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Bosselman. Ms. Harden, I thank you for being here and thank you for your testimony and thank you for what you do at Game and Parks. I guess the only question I would have is, does Game and Parks need this bill to implement this program, or is this something you could and would do on your own? What's your view there?
We have the ability under current statutes to accommodate such a season, and we are actually in the process of making those recommendations. They're already out for public review. The orders are on our website, and the Secretary of State's website holds the eligibility requirements. And so we plan on having a public hearing on March 8th in Hastings, Nebraska, to talk about it.
So if this bill moves, let's say this bill passes, is that potentially going to create some limitations?
Yeah, the way that the senator and her staff have worked with us on creating the amendment, it absolutely meshes with the current federal frameworks, with the definitions, and including active military, residents and non-residents. They've absolutely aligned everything so that it won't be a problem.
So specifically, passing a bill puts it in statute would bind future Game and Parks commissioners and staff to keep this in place, is basically the difference.
Correct. And it's written in a way that allows some mobility of when those days are in the amendment. The way that we are choosing to do it is to do it with the youth season, because we are capped at so many days of exposure for migratory waterfowl in a couple areas of our state. And so to allow for it, we have to do it with like the youth season at this time. So
Great.
it works perfect.
Question on that I asked previous testifier. So the Armed Forces Initiative Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, are you looking, is the R3 program looking to maybe make connections with them to bring them together? To me, it seems like that's all about what both of those organizations are trying to do, wanting to do, is the education, bringing people out. You know, it's the whole experience and taking them from no knowledge to completion of whatever, if it's hunting, if it's fishing, if it's hiking, if it's kayaking, whatever it is to bring them to that full circle and involve them into the outdoors. And it seems like those two would be great two programs to bring together. Has that already been done? Are you looking to do that? Could you comment on that?
Sure. We've had some meetings when backcountry hunters and anglers first came to Nebraska. They were just starting to get organized, and then COVID hit. And then we've seen them start to grow more. So I don't think, until some of these things happened, we were aware that they had such an initiative. But certainly John McKinney is our waterfowl program manager, and he was out there with them on the hunt and helped provide some information as well. I totally agree with you, Chairman Bosselman, that this would be a great fit for our R3 work group that we have that's internal, external within the agency, and we would be happy to invite them to join us with that. Backcountry Hunters and Anglers does a lot of great advocacy work in a lot of different areas too. So I have a feeling you'll hear from them more.
And I do know, as Senator Jacobson had asked, but Senator Conrad had mentioned, we did look at the bill, and there has been a lot of collaborative work between your office and Senator Conrad's office to make this work specifically within the time frame, which on waterfowl season, you have 107 days, is it?
170.
The federal government allows you to have a waterfowl season, so you need to fit it within that season. If you go outside of that season, then significant penalties and fines to individuals. So really, I think what you've done appears to be a good fit to work with, especially with the youth, because there's another opportunity for mentorship. So you could take the R3, you could take the youth, and then you take your new hunters together and you bind that together, bring that together. It's another great opportunity to expose people, teach people about the outdoors and that. So I think that's a good idea.
I've also had some discussions with the Nebraska Department of Veteran Affairs. I agree they're a wonderful organization, and they've given us some great ideas of how to verify who should be in the field and who should not, and and they'll help us promote it as well.
And I believe Mr. McIntosh mentioned it before, and we've had it on different bills. There is a process that you have that you're connected with the Veterans VA or the DOD that you pull up the veteran status. So if a person goes online, that's something they can do so they can work the whole permit process, the whole eligibility process. That's fairly smooth transition thing you can do online. That's my understanding.
Our databases aren't connected yet. That is something that we've, had some very beginning discussions with them. But they are willing to help us to verify if somebody doesn't have like a DD 214 or orders or something like that to show.
All right. Other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to testify in neutral capacity on LD 1001?
Good afternoon, Chairman Bosselman and members of the Natural Resources Committee. My name is John, John Heaston, Heaston, and I am the Executive Director of the Nebraska Sportsman's Foundation. And on behalf of my organization, I would like to testify in neutral, only because we have not taken a positive or negative position on any of the other veterans or active duty bills that have been introduced. And saying that, we would like to make sure that these bills stay inside of each other, and maybe ultimately we have some sort of a veterans active duty, for lack of a better term, Bill of Rights, so that Game and Parks has a comprehensive understanding of what their obligations are to the active duty and veterans community, and that those mandates are not left unfunded. We need to make sure that we're taking care of our veterans properly and not just in name only. And so I'm personally in support of these bills. But we also have to recognize that as has been stated, it falls within the context of having places for them to go, as Senator Jacobson pointed out earlier. Veterans are a high percentage of outdoor folks, and that means they're also a high percentage of contributors to things like hunting permits and habitat stamps. And so in providing benefits to them, we want to make sure that we're not shortcutting our long-term health in terms of fiscal contributions to game parks. As was mentioned by commissioner being appointed today, 88% self-financing. That's a hard number to keep up if we start making discounts for everything. And I'm not saying we shouldn't. I just think we need to make sure that we're not creating issues down the road by not seeing the big picture. So that said, I am in strong support of anything that we're going to do to the benefit of our active duty and veterans. I want to make sure that we're giving the commission and any other relevant agency the tools to do it right. And if there's anything that we can do as the Nebraska Sportsman's Foundation to assist in these hunts or get people lined up or informed of the value of them, we would be happy to do so. And I'd take any questions if anybody had any.
Okay, thank you for testimony. Questions, Senator Jacobson?
Thank you, Chairman Bostelman. I guess I just want to clarify. I know you're testifying in a neutral capacity, but probably what separates this bill from all the other bills that have been brought is this one has zero fiscal note.
Right.
It's something that can easily be done. Game and Parks could do on their own.
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of see this as, why would you not be in support?
Well, because we didn't take a position on the other bills.
How about you personally?
Me personally, I support it.
First, thank
you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you for having me.
Anyone else like to testify in neutral capacity? Anyone else testify? Seeing none. Senator Conrad, you're welcome to close. We did receive one proponent comment online.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Chair Bossman. Thank you so much to the committee members for your great questions and kind attention. I just want to reiterate my gratitude, our gratitude to those brave people who have served our country and who stepped forward today to advocate on behalf of this legislation. I could tell that the committee enjoyed meeting them and hearing their stories as much as I did. And I think it would be really meaningful if we could work together to bring this over the finish line together in the remaining weeks of this session. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions and really, really appreciate committee council's work and really appreciate Game and Parks as well.
Thank you. Other questions from committee members?
Okay, thank you.
Seeing none, thank you very much. That will close our hearing on LB 1001.
Only every bill is.
Are we off? I had asked for an exact, but we're not today.